Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more buckshot testing. And we've got another new shell out here today that I'm definitely curious to see how it performs, because I think we should see a pretty decent pattern out of it, really. Or at least that's the hope. And as for that shell, it is some of the Remington Express buckshot, but these are the 12 gauge Magnum versions, the 3-inch 10 pellet of triple aught buck, moving about 1225 feet per second. And the last time we tested a newer box of the Remington Express buckshot, they did shockingly well, and I think it had to do with the shells having a wad in them instead of just plain old buckshot. Now, again, this box doesn't say anything about having a wad in it, so I guess we'll see. But I think that's probably going to be the determining factor on how good of a pattern we actually see, because it seems like buckshot loads that have wads tend to do a little bit better. So I'm definitely excited to see how well these do and if they actually are loaded with a wad or not. And as for our setup we're going to be running today, I brought out the Remington 1187, but for a choke, I went with the stock full choke, which is typically what I like to run when it comes to buckshot shells. But on top of that, it does say on that Remington triple aught buck box there that it will probably perform best with a full choke. So that's what we're going to go with for today's test anyway, is the stock full choke for the gun. Now as for our test, everything is going to be the same as usual. I have the big sheet of paper set up at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph, so we'll be able to see how close we actually get to the 1225 claim that's on the box. And I have a few templates out here as well that we can lay over our target and kind of get a better reference point as to how it would have done in some different situations. So let's get you guys set up with a view of this target and take our shot and see how well these Remington Express Magnum triple aught buck shells can actually do today. Okay, so that shell gave us 1171 through the chronograph. The box was claiming 1225, so we are a little bit under their claim, but 1171 is still within the realm of reason anyway. At least for a load of triple aught buck, right around the 1200 mark is plenty good enough. So I wouldn't say there's anything too strange to see up here, but how well did they actually pattern down at 40 yards? Let's go take a look and see. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now, obviously, the white dot was my point of aim. The paper is 36 inches wide by about 40 inches or so tall, and we had a pretty good-looking group here, really. We did very clearly have one flyer down there that was low, but our main portion of the group was right there where I was trying to hit. And as for measurements, the entire group size gave us 15 1/4 inches, and that is from the top pellet all the way down to that flyer. But I also measured this main portion of our group here without the flyer, and that is 8.5 inches. So 8.5 inches for the main core area right there, where the majority of our pattern is. That's not bad at all, really. Now, to my surprise, these triple aught buck Remington Express shells did not have a wad in the shell. So this is straight up just buffered buckshot. Nothing fancy going on. So that's definitely a pretty good pattern, all things considered. There's no doubt about that. But let's throw a couple templates up just to see what it would look like if we would have taken this shot in a certain scenario. We'll start off with our 10-inch circle just to see what our core area looks like, and then we'll move into some animal templates. So let's grab that 10-inch circle and just see what that core area really looks like. Okay, so here's our 10-inch circle, and as we can see, we have a total of 7 out of our 10 pellets within there, which is above average by quite a bit actually for a buckshot shell. So definitely looking pretty good there, and it is a pretty hot centered up core area. So overall, looking pretty good there for our 10-inch circle, that's for sure. But let's throw the deer template up and just see what it would look like if you would have taken this shot in a hunting scenario. Alright, so here's our deer template, and if we line it up with our point of aim, we have a front leg down there at the bottom, and his neck just starts off to the right side there. And as we can see, we have 9 out of the 10 pellets that actually hit this deer. The 10th one that we're missing is the flyer, and it's down behind the template, right behind his front leg there. But still, 9 pellets right there. That would absolutely be good enough to take the deer. You have 7 right through the vitals there. One a little bit higher towards the neck that probably would have got into something anyway that wouldn't have felt good, that's for sure. And one a little bit lower and towards the front. But either way, having at least 7 pellets right through the vitals there at 40 yards on a deer, that's more than good enough to take the deer. There's no question about that. He wouldn't have made it very far. So we're looking pretty good here, I'd say. Now, just for another reference point, I do have the Hog Template out here as well, so we'll throw that up here just to take a look at it for a second. I think it's going to be pretty much the same story, but for those of you that like to hog hunt and might be looking at this shell for that purpose, we'll throw it up here real quick just to see what it would look like in your scenario as well. Alright, so here's our hog template, and just like I suspected, it tells us pretty much the exact same story. We had 9 of the 10 pellets actually hit this hog. The 10th is the flyer, and it's right between his legs down there behind the template. And once again, you pretty much had the same story. 7 through the vital area for sure, and the other 2 that definitely would have hit him and probably didn't feel all that amazing when they did. So overall, absolutely a dead hog, no doubt about it. And at the end of the day, definitely pretty impressive for just a straight up buffer load of buckshot without any kind of special wad. I definitely would not be scared to use this shell whatsoever on deer or hogs or anything like that. It would absolutely get the job done. Okay, again, we don't have a wad out of this shell, but we do have the little gas seal here. But there's really not anything too special to see or take note of. But I did find it and figured that we should at least take a glance at it real quick. But nothing really too special to take note of out of this gas seal anyway. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance there? It's absolutely good enough to take out hunting in the woods or anything like that, there's no doubt about it. It would absolutely get the job done for you. And I was rather surprised, considering that these shells didn't have the wad that we had seen in previous Remington buckshot shells, that they performed that well. But clearly, Remington's got something right with that load, whether it's a plated buckshot pellet or the buffer type that they use or anything like that. Clearly, something seems to be working pretty decently. So I'm definitely pretty impressed with how they did overall. But as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see out of them? Or were you a little bit surprised one way or the other? And if you've tested these Remington Express Triple-Aught Buck 10 pellet shells, how have they done for you? Have you seen good patterns out of them like that? Or was that a little bit surprising? I definitely think that 1187 likes buckshot shells like this, overall anyway. So at the end of the day, I definitely think we got a pretty good combination here, but leave your thoughts about it in the comments. But with that being said, I've got plenty more testing coming y'all's way, so stay tuned for that. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send things if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.